The realm of the infinitesimally small has quietly become the foundation of modern human progress. Nanotechnology, the science of manipulating matter at the atomic and molecular scale, typically measuring between 1 and 100 nanometers, has transitioned from a theoretical discipline confined to advanced laboratories into a pervasive force shaping everyday life. At this scale, the fundamental rules of classical physics and chemistry undergo a profound shift. Materials begin to exhibit entirely new optical, electrical, and mechanical properties, driven by quantum effects and vastly increased surface area to volume ratios. The European Observatory on Nanomaterials projects that this science will unfold across 4 distinct generations. The public is currently experiencing the transition from the first generation, defined by passive nanostructures like specialized coatings, into the second generation, characterized by active, bioactive nanosystems that dynamically interact with their environments. Rather than merely making objects smaller, nanotechnology allows scientists to fundamentally redesign materials from the atoms up. This exhaustive analysis explores the tangible impacts of nanotechnology across 4 critical domains of daily life: consumer electronics, medicine and healthcare, consumer textiles and materials, and environmental sustainability. The modern digital landscape, defined by instantaneous global communication, artificial intelligence, and mobile computing, is entirely dependent on the continuous miniaturization of semiconductor components. The guiding principle of this sector for close to 60 years has been Moore's Law, an empirical observation published in 1965 by Intel co-founder Gordon Moore in Electronics magazine. Moore originally noted that the number of components per integrated circuit doubled every year, a projection he later revised in 1975 to a doubling approximately every 2 years. A transistor operates as a microscopic electronic switch that controls the flow of electricity, effectively representing the ones and zeros of digital data processing. As billions of these switches are packed into increasingly smaller areas, computational power rises exponentially, while the cost per individual calculation plummets, a trend supported by Dennard scaling, which dictates that power density remains constant as transistors shrink. However, Moore's Law is not a natural law of physics. It is a human-driven projection that relies on relentless technological innovation. In recent years, microprocessor architects have reported a slowdown in this advancement. When transistors are shrunk to the size of mere atoms, classical physics fails, and electrons begin to experience quantum tunneling. In this state, electrical current leaks across the transistor's barriers even when the switch is turned off, generating excessive heat and draining battery life rapidly. To keep Moore's Law alive, engineers have had to fundamentally redesign the 3-dimensional geometry of the transistor. The industry initially moved from flat, planar designs to the FinFET architecture, which raised the conductive channel into a 3-dimensional fin surrounded on 3 sides by the gate. Yet even FinFET faces extreme reliability vulnerabilities, such as bias temperature instability and hot carrier injection at the 3-nanometer threshold and beyond. The immediate future of everyday electronics relies on the gate-all-around transistor, representing the second seminal shift in device architecture in semiconductor history. Adopted by leading manufacturers, including TSMC, Samsung, and Intel, which refers to its proprietary design as the RibbonFET, this architecture turns the conductive channel sideways and divides it into horizontal, stacked nanosheet silicon ribbons. The gate material wraps entirely around all 4 sides of these ribbons. This complete structural enclosure restores absolute control over the flow of electrons, drastically reducing subthreshold leakage while allowing for higher drive currents. Combined with advanced techniques like extreme ultraviolet lithography and Intel's Power Via technology, which shifts the complex power distribution network to the backside of the microchip, these transistors guarantee optimal performance. For the average consumer, this underlying nanoscale mechanics translates to tangible benefits. smartphones that require charging far less frequently, and the deployment of distributed artificial intelligence inference directly on edge computing devices within smartphone power budgets. Beyond the processing core, nanotechnology has revolutionized how humans interface with digital information, most notably through display technology. Modern televisions and premium smartphone screens rely heavily on nanomaterials known as quantum dots, utilized extensively in OLED and QLED displays. Quantum dots are semiconductor nanocrystals, typically ranging from 2 to 10 nanometers in size, which equates to roughly 10 to 50 atoms across. At this scale, their optical properties are dominated by quantum confinement, a phenomenon that restricts the movement of conduction band electrons in all three spatial directions. When these dots are excited by applied light or electricity, they emit fluorescent light of highly specific frequencies. The defining characteristic of a quantum dot is that the specific color of light it emits is dictated entirely by its physical size and shape. A larger quantum dot will naturally emit red light, while a smaller dot will emit blue light. By precisely engineering the size of these crystals, manufacturers can eliminate the need for the thick, energy-consuming color filters required in traditional liquid crystal displays. This nanoscale precision results in screens that are significantly thinner, possess a higher extinction coefficient for superior energy efficiency, and display a hyper-accurate, deeply saturated spectrum of colors. Looking toward the immediate future of consumer optics, companies like Scale Nanotech are developing active holographic modulators utilizing graphene. Rather than relying solely on traditional light emission, these graphene-based large-area modulators act as active pixels that physically vibrate and move mechanically to change colors. Showcased as a minimum viable product at CES Las Vegas, this technology offers massive multi-pixel resolution, capable of withstanding the high optical powers necessary for outdoor augmented and virtual reality smart glasses, all while maintaining minimal power consumption. Simultaneously, the energy storage systems powering these devices are undergoing a massive nanoscale transformation. Traditional lithium-ion batteries are nearing their theoretical limits regarding energy density and charging speed. Graphene, a two-dimensional lattice of carbon atoms arranged in a flat hexagonal honeycomb pattern, is driving the next generation of power storage. It is universally recognized as one of the strongest, lightest, and most electrically conductive materials in existence. In advanced battery applications, manufacturers are turning to graphene quantum dots and advanced silicon graphene composite anodes. While standard graphene lacks a band gap, edge effects and quantum confinement in graphene quantum dots create a tunable band gap, vastly improving charge transport optimization. The primary advantage of graphene at the nanoscale is its immense surface area and conductivity. When integrated into a battery's anode, the graphene network acts as a highly flexible, three-dimensional structural backbone. During rapid charging, lithium ions flood into the anode. In traditional batteries, this rapid influx causes the silicon active material to physically expand, degrade, and form crystalline spikes called dendrites that can short-circuit the cell. A graphene-reinforced matrix stabilizes the active material, preventing structural decay, while vastly accelerating the diffusion kinetics of the lithium ions. The commercial realization of this technology is already underway. Companies like Nanograph have established large-scale manufacturing to provide the military with proprietary silicon graphene anodes for their fastbat radio programs, increasing runtime by 15%. In the industrial sector, Lighten is expanding its gigafactory footprint in Europe to produce advanced battery architectures, while Solidion Technology is deploying graphene-enhanced UPS battery systems specifically engineered for the immense power demands of artificial intelligence data centers. Furthermore, aviation startups like Dreamfly Innovations are utilizing these high-density graphene chemistries to power next-generation drones. This hardware evolution is also intersecting with software security. By the year 2027, consumer smartphones will feature deep integration of advanced hardware and operating systems, exemplified by Motorola's official partnership to release commercial devices powered natively by Graphene OS. This privacy-focused operating system mandates extremely strict hardware requirements, including advanced hardware memory tagging and secure boot implementations, ensuring that the next generation of powerful graphene battery-powered mobile devices are also structurally immune to modern software vulnerabilities. Perhaps the most universally recognized triumph of modern nanotechnology occurred within the realm of global public health through the rapid deployment of messenger RNA vaccines during the COVID-19 pandemic, most notably the BNT162b2 vaccine developed by Pfizer-BioNTech and the mRNA 1273 vaccine developed by Moderna. The foundational challenge of this therapy is that nucleic acids are inherently fragile molecules. If injected directly into the human bloodstream, the body's innate immune system and natural nucleases immediately identify the genetic material as a foreign threat and destroy it before it can ever reach a host cell. The solution to this biological blockade is the lipid nanoparticle, a microscopic delivery vehicle engineered to protect and transport genetic instructions. A lipid nanoparticle acts conceptually as a microscopic winter coat for the fragile messenger RNA. During the highly precise manufacturing process, which utilizes microfluidic mixers and ethanol dilution techniques to form nanodroplets, lipids carrying a positive charge are combined with the negatively charged nucleic acids. This electromagnetic complexation binds the two together, safely encapsulating the genetic code within a protective shell of fats. This nanoscale casing safely navigates the bloodstream, evading immediate immune destruction. Upon encountering a target host cell, the lipid nanoparticle is absorbed into the cytosol. Once inside, the lipid jacket is effectively shed, allowing the cellular machinery to read the unprotected messenger RNA template and manufacture the viral spike proteins that train the adaptive immune system to generate antibodies and induce T cells. The implications of this targeted delivery system extend far beyond infectious respiratory diseases. The lipid nanoparticle platform is inherently modular. By simply replacing the enclosed payload, medical researchers have developed groundbreaking therapies for rare genetic disorders. For instance, the United States Food and Drug Administration approved patisiran, marketed as Onpattro, which utilizes a lipid nanoparticle to deliver targeted small interfering RNA to treat severe polyneuropathy caused by hereditary transthyretin-mediated amyloidosis. While challenges remain regarding the unintentional immunogenicity of the lipids themselves, where the delivery vehicle inadvertently triggers allergic or autoimmune inflammatory responses, researchers at institutions like Cornell University are currently designing next-generation stealth nanoparticles that utilize alternative chemical modifications to bypass adverse biological reactions entirely. By the year 2030, the global nanomedicine market is projected to reach over $400 billion, radically reshaping the clinical oncology landscape in the process. Traditional cancer treatments, such as systemic chemotherapy, rely on flooding the entire body with highly toxic compounds, which devastate healthy tissues alongside cancerous neoplasms, leading to severe physiological side effects. Nanoscale drug carriers, including polymeric micelles and multi-walled carbon nanotubes, offer a highly targeted alternative. These nanocarriers are engineered to exploit the unique, highly porous nature of the blood vessels that surround rapidly growing tumors, allowing the drugs to accumulate directly within the neoplastic tissue while sparing the tightly bound healthy organs nearby. Furthermore, these nanomedicines can be specifically coated with antibodies designed to seek out and bind only to the surface markers of cancer stem cells, bypassing ATP-binding cassette transporter resistance mechanisms. For example, studies have successfully conjugated multi-walled carbon nanotubes with bromocryptine to specifically target and induce cellular apoptosis in lung cancer cells with immense precision. This targeted approach alters the fundamental pharmacokinetics of cancer drugs, maximizing therapeutic efficacy while virtually eliminating collateral physiological damage. Beyond targeted therapeutics, nanotechnology is democratizing healthcare diagnostics, serving as a vital bridge between centralized clinical laboratories and routine, daily personal health monitoring. Traditional diagnostic tests often require drawing large volumes of deep venous blood, extensive laboratory processing, and days of waiting, by which time a patient's condition may have critically deteriorated. Nanobiosensors circumvent this delay by converting immediate biological stimuli directly into readable electrical outputs via nanoscale transducer elements. Because nanomaterials possess a massive surface area to volume ratio, they can interact directly with target analytes at the absolute molecular level, offering unprecedented sensitivity. This extreme sensitivity allows for the continuous, real-time detection of trace biomarkers in easily accessible bodily fluids, such as sweat, interstitial fluid, or tears. Commercially available and emerging applications include smart contact lenses equipped with nano-optical sensors, such as the Sensimed triggerfish, which continuously monitors intraocular pressure to manage glaucoma. For diabetes management, continuous glucose monitors have become a commercial success, utilizing enzyme-coated sensor needles in the interstitial fluid However, to combat sensor drift and epidermal shedding, the next generation of devices utilizes advanced microneedles for minimally invasive, highly reliable analyte extraction. In the clinical diagnostic space, surface-enhanced Raman scattering nanoparticles and quantum dot bioconjugates are revolutionizing point-of-care testing. These plasmonic nanoantennas allow for the rapid identification of complex genetic alterations, specific tumor markers, and critical infectious diseases like Ebola and Marburg viruses in resource-limited settings, vastly improving outbreak response times. In daily consumer health and public hygiene, nanotechnology also plays a quiet but pervasive role in infection control. Silver nanoparticles have been widely integrated into wound dressings, surgical instruments, and everyday consumer products. Silver possesses natural antimicrobial properties, but at the nanoscale, its efficiency is drastically amplified. Nanosilver continuously releases silver ions that penetrate the cell walls of bacteria and fungi, disrupting their internal DNA replication and cellular respiration. This creates highly effective self-sterilizing surfaces that combat the rise of antibiotic-resistant pathogens without requiring the constant application of harsh, toxic chemical disinfectants. The integration of nanotechnology into the fabrics and materials that the general public interacts with daily has transformed passive objects into dynamic, highly functional engineered systems. One of the most commercially successful applications of this science is the development of advanced nanocoatings for clothing, outdoor apparel, and footwear. By applying synthetic silica nanoparticles to fabric fibers, material scientists can fundamentally alter the surface tension of the textile at a microscopic level. This nanoscale manipulation creates an extreme hydrophobic or water-repellent surface effect. When rain, coffee, or mud strikes a nano-coated surface, the liquid cannot flatten out, penetrate the weave, and absorb into the material. Instead, the microscopic roughness provided by the silica nanoparticles forces the liquid to remain in tight, spherical beads. These beads simply roll off the fabric, actively picking up loose dirt and microscopic debris along the way, resulting in garments that are not only permanently waterproof, but also inherently self-cleaning and highly resistant to stubborn stains. Importantly, because this specialized treatment occurs exclusively at the nanoscale, the coating does not clog the macroscopic pores of the fabric. This ensures that the garment retains moisture-wicking capabilities and remains entirely breathable and comfortable for the athlete or wearer, representing a major technological leap over traditional rubberized polyurethane raincoats. This technology has been widely adopted by major athletic brands. For instance, Nike utilizes a proprietary all-conditions-control polymer nanocoating on its football cleats to ensure superior grip and ball control regardless of severe weather conditions. Nanotechnology is also pushing the boundaries of active thermoregulation in everyday activewear. Companies such as Polartec and Celliant are driving growth in the multi-billion-dollar athletic apparel sector by embedding specialized nanoparticles directly into the fabric yarn. These nanoparticles are engineered to capture the body's natural heat and convert it into infrared radiation, reflecting it back into the athlete's muscle tissue. This targeted infrared reflection promotes localized blood flow, increases muscle oxygenation, and significantly improves endurance and thermoregulation during intense physical activity. Furthermore, academic researchers are developing autonomous climate-adaptive fabrics constructed from specialized bimorphic fibers. These fibers are composed of a combination of water-repelling triacetate and water-absorbing cellulose, which are then coated in a highly conductive layer of carbon nanotubes. When a person becomes warm and begins to sweat, the localized humidity causes these bimorphic fibers to mechanically twist and compress. This physical contraction opens the macroscopic pores of the fabric, allowing trapped body heat to escape. Simultaneously, the compression forces the carbon nanotubes closer together, initiating a nanoscale physical process called resonant electromagnetic coupling. This reaction actively enhances the dissipation of the body's infrared radiation, creating a pronounced rapid cooling effect. Conversely, in cold, dry winter conditions, the fibers expand, closing the pores and effectively trapping body heat to keep the wearer warm. In the realm of high-performance physical activity, carbon nanotubes have fundamentally altered the manufacturing and durability of sporting equipment. A carbon nanotube is essentially a rolled-up cylinder of graphene, boasting a tensile strength nearly 100 times greater than industrial steel, yet weighing only a fraction as much. When these nanotubes are dispersed into the carbon fiber composites used to construct bicycle frames, tennis rackets, and hockey sticks, they act as a deeply embedded molecular reinforcement. Traditional carbon fiber structures are prone to microscopic voids and inconsistencies between the layers of material. Over time, intense mechanical stress can cause these tiny voids to expand into massive structural fractures. By introducing carbon nanotubes into the manufacturing process, these structural gaps are completely filled by a tightly packed, neatly meshed nanomatrix. This allows manufacturers to produce equipment that is perfectly cylindrical, exceptionally stiff, and drastically lighter than previous generations. The tangible result for the consumer is profound. Tennis legend Roger Federer utilized nano-enhanced Wilson rackets to achieve explosive power with immense structural control. In the golf industry, Callaway utilizes nanomaterials to enhance ball speed and spin control, while Ping applies a nanochrome finish to its club heads to promote extreme longevity and scratch resistance. Even tennis balls are now manufactured with a carbon nanotube nano defense barrier integrated into their inner cores, completely locking in internal air pressure and effectively doubling the playable lifespan of the ball. Furthermore, the average person benefits from advanced nanoscale physical chemistry every time they apply modern cosmetic sunscreen. For decades, dermatologists have recommended mineral sunscreens containing titanium dioxide and zinc oxide, as these inorganic compounds provide unparalleled, photostable, broad-spectrum protection against both aging ultraviolet A rays and burning ultraviolet B rays. However, in their bulk macroparticulate form, these minerals are highly opaque. When applied to the skin, they leave a thick, highly visible chalky white residue because the large particles physically scatter all wavelengths of visible light. This poor aesthetic quality historically deterred consumers from utilizing the safest available sun protection, compromising public health. The solution to this optical issue lies entirely in nanoparticle engineering. By mechanically grinding titanium dioxide and zinc oxide down to dimensions below 100 nanometers, the particles become significantly smaller than the actual wavelengths of visible light, which range from roughly 400 to 700 nanometers. At this minuscule size, the physical laws of optical scattering fundamentally change. The nanoparticles are simply too small to effectively bounce visible light back to the human eye, rendering the sunscreen completely transparent and aesthetically pleasing when rubbed into the skin. Despite their optical invisibility in the visible spectrum, the quantum bandgap properties of these minerals remain perfectly intact at the nanoscale. The nanoparticles continue to act as highly efficient physical and chemical barriers, selectively absorbing the high-energy, short-wavelength ultraviolet radiation and safely converting those harmful rays into trace, unnoticeable amounts of thermal energy. However, the reduction in size does alter the balance of protection, sometimes increasing UVB absorption at the expense of deep UVA1 absorption, requiring precise optimization of the particle sizes to ensure balanced, broad-spectrum shielding. While early public concern questioned whether these microscopic particles could penetrate the skin and enter the human bloodstream to cause heavy metal toxicity, extensive global health studies, including comprehensive literature reviews by the Therapeutic Goods Administration, have conclusively demonstrated that titanium dioxide and zinc oxide nanoparticles are effectively halted by the stratum corneum, the dead outermost layer of the epidermis. They do not reach viable living cells, ensuring that the consumer receives maximum dermatological protection without systemic toxicity. It is vital to note, however, that while dermal application is safe, the inhalation or ingestion of these nanoparticles, such as through aerosolized spray sunscreens, can pose risks, as the lungs struggle to clear small particles that may subsequently cross into the bloodstream and generate damaging hydroxyl radicals through photoinduced reactions. As global populations expand and industrialization accelerates rapidly, the pressure on the world's freshwater resources has reached a critical threshold, exacerbated by unpredictable climate change, persistent droughts, and widespread organic pollution. Traditional municipal water treatment and massive seawater desalination facilities rely heavily on the process of reverse osmosis. This method utilizes extreme mechanical pressure to force seawater through thick, semi-permeable polymer membranes to remove salts and microscopic impurities. While highly effective at producing potable water, conventional membrane technology requires massive amounts of continuous electrical energy to overcome hydraulic resistance, making large-scale desalination economically burdensome and heavily dependent on fossil fuels. Nanotechnology offers a transformative, highly sustainable solution to the global water crisis through the deployment of advanced graphene and carbon nanotube filtration membranes. Graphene, consisting of a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal lattice, represents the ultimate, absolute physical barrier. When utilized as a water filter, incredibly precise, sub-nanometer pores are chemically etched into the graphene oxide sheet. The mechanics of this advanced filtration are governed by rigid physical geometry and molecular size exclusion. The microscopic pores are engineered to be exactly wide enough to allow singular water molecules to permeate freely, but remain strictly narrow enough to physically block larger hydrated salt ions like sodium and chloride, as well as toxic heavy metals, organic pollutants, and viral pathogens. Because the graphene membrane is atomically thin, the hydraulic friction encountered by the water is remarkably low. This allows massive volumes of water to flow through the filter with only a fraction of the pressure, and therefore a fraction of the electrical energy required by traditional reverse osmosis systems, generating pure water yields that are 8 to 9 times greater than commercial counterparts. However, scaling this technology presents a severe physical challenge. A membrane that is only 1 atom thick is highly susceptible to structural defects and catastrophic tearing under the immense physical stress of industrial water flow. Furthermore, traditional overlapping patchwork graphene oxide sheets tend to swell heavily when saturated with water, widening the gaps and allowing salt to leak through. To solve this critical flaw, materials scientists have developed a groundbreaking method of depositing a dense, mesh-like network of single-walled carbon nanotubes directly on top of the graphene base. This carbon nanotube layer acts conceptually like heavy steel rebar poured inside concrete, deeply reinforcing the delicate graphene and completely stopping the propagation of microscopic cracks and tears. This structural reinforcement creates a highly robust hybrid nanomaterial that exhibits massive mechanical strength, boasting a Young's modulus of up to 20 gigapascals. Unlike traditional polymer filters, this nanotube-reinforced graphene mesh does not swell, maintaining strict pore integrity and consistently removing between 85 and 97% of salt from seawater. Additionally, the incorporation of metal oxide nanoparticles provides an antibacterial photocatalytic effect, actively resisting biofouling, the destructive buildup of organic microorganisms that typically clogs industrial filters. By transitioning to these highly scalable nanomaterials, coastal municipalities and severely drought-stricken regions can secure sustainable, highly energy-efficient access to pristine drinking water, representing a critical convergence of human survival and advanced materials science. The application of nanotechnology extends seamlessly from the municipal water we drink directly to the daily food we consume. The modern global food supply chain is currently plagued by immense systemic inefficiencies, resulting in massive economic losses due to premature organic spoilage alongside an over-reliance on environmentally destructive, single-use plastic packaging. The industry is currently undergoing a massive paradigm shift from simple passive containment to highly intelligent, active smart packaging, driven almost entirely by the integration of nanosensors and natural biopolymers. The core technology enabling this revolutionary shift is the deployment of highly sensitive, stretchable diagnostic wrappers that actively monitor the chemical environment and microbial activity of the food in real time. Modern intelligent packaging utilizes surface-enhanced Raman scattering, an advanced, highly sensitive spectroscopic technique. Within the flexible thermoplastic polyurethane fibers of the packaging, engineers embed specialized nanostructures made of precious metals like gold and silver, often created using high-precision krypton fluoride lithography. These plasmonic metal nanostructures create densely packed electromagnetic hotspots that physically amplify the otherwise faint optical Raman signals of target molecules emitted by the food. As a piece of meat, fresh salad, or fruit begins to degrade, it releases highly specific chemical markers into the enclosed environment, such as gaseous amines, hypoxanthine, or trace residues of agricultural pesticides like thiram. The embedded nanosensors interact instantly and non-destructively with these microscopic volatile compounds directly on the food's surface. Through localized chemical reactions, the nanosensors translate this complex biological data into an immediate, observer-readable signal, typically manifesting as a distinct, highly visible color change on the external label of the package. This technology entirely eliminates the ambiguity and guesswork of arbitrary printed expiration dates. The consumer or grocery clerk can look directly at a colorimetric sensor to determine with absolute molecular certainty whether the food is safe to consume or if severe pathogenic contamination has occurred. Numerous commercial examples of this technology are already entering the logistics chain, including Avery Dennison's RFID-enabled tracking packages, Insignia Technology's visual freshness labels, and highly specialized biosensors like ToxinGuard, which specifically detects deadly pathogens such as Salmonella, E. coli, and Campylobacter in muscle-based meats. Similarly, the FlexAlert biosensor is utilized commercially to detect aflatoxins and pathogens in dried nuts, coffee beans, and wine barrels. Simultaneously, active nanotechnology is being utilized to aggressively extend the usable shelf life of perishable goods. Rather than simply sealing the food away passively, active packaging films are infused with organic and inorganic nano-antimicrobials, such as curcumin, copper oxide, or zinc oxide nanoparticles. These nanoscale agents continuously interact with the internal atmosphere inside the package, acting as highly efficient oxygen scavengers to prevent rapid oxidation and discoloration of the food, while actively inhibiting the cellular growth of destructive spoilage bacteria and fungi on the product's surface. By the year 2026, this advanced packaging technology is increasingly intersecting with the global regulatory push for strict environmental sustainability. Major food brands, facing immense consumer pressure regarding ocean pollution, are rapidly pivoting away from petroleum-based plastics toward bio-based, molded pulp packaging derived from recycled paper, agricultural waste, and fully biodegradable nanostarch. Historically, pulp packaging was viewed as weak and highly susceptible to moisture degradation. However, when augmented with sophisticated nanomaterials, these eco-friendly containers shed their traditional weaknesses entirely. The deep structural infusion of nanoclays, layered silicates, and cellulose nanocrystals provides the immense structural strength, shock absorption, and critical moisture barrier properties previously exclusive to heavy, non-degradable plastics. This convergence ensures that fresh produce and meats remain fully protected, actively monitored for deadly pathogens, and chemically preserved over long global transit routes, while the packaging itself can safely and rapidly decompose in standard composting facilities, directly addressing the dual global crises of massive food waste and perpetual plastic pollution. The ongoing decade marks the critical, irreversible transition of nanotechnology from a period of fundamental scientific discovery into an era of ubiquitous, heavily relied upon commercial integration. Projections for the period between 2026 and 2030 illustrate a world where the precise manipulation of matter at the atomic level is deeply entrenched in the quiet background of everyday human activity. The abstract, highly complex theories of quantum mechanics, plasmonics, and molecular biology have been successfully and reliably translated into tangible goods that average consumers interact with and benefit from constantly. Mobile smartphones powered by unyielding, highly efficient gate-all-around transistors. Advanced holographic displays utilizing size-tunable quantum dots. Targeted lipid nanomedicines, actively dismantling complex tumors without systemic toxicity. And highly intelligent sporting fabrics that clean themselves and dynamically respond to human thermoregulation. The primary hurdle facing the immediate future of this sector is no longer theoretical viability or proof of concept, but rather vast industrial scalability, extreme manufacturing precision, and rigorous, unyielding safety standardization. As immense global industries pivot aggressively toward the mass commercial production of defect-free graphene desalination membranes, highly sensitive autonomous home-use nanobiosensors, and chemically active intelligent food packaging, international regulatory bodies and scientists are actively shifting toward a mandated, safe-by-design philosophy. This critical approach requires that the toxicological and environmental safety assessments of all new nanomaterials be engineered directly into the initial conceptual design phase, rather than tested retroactively after mass distribution, ensuring that as these incredibly potent, world-altering technologies scale to meet soaring global demand, they do so with a solid foundation of absolute environmental and physiological security. Ultimately, the nanoscale revolution is not defined by the overt visibility of its products, but by their profound, microscopic invisibility. By manipulating the literal atomic building blocks of the universe, nanotechnology has quietly and permanently rewritten the rigid limits of human engineering, embedding profound resilience, unprecedented energy efficiency, and active intelligence into the very fabric of daily life.